Today, we're reporting on an iNEMI member-led project, the Eco-Design Best Practices of a Circular Electronics Economy. In mid-2021, the project team organized a series of interactive webinars featuring experts from leading electronics organizations to talk about their eco-design projects. The 6 companies that participated in the webinar series were Nokia, Samsung, Schneider Electric, Fairphone, Adva Optical, and Google. These webinars were an avenue for the eco-design leaders to showcase their thought processes, their strategies, their successes and failures. And we're glad to share what we learned from them about these best practices with you. So in this video, we're going to highlight one of the 3 best practices, take action now. So there are actions that you can take now that can make a difference through eco-design of electronics. In our webinar series, we learned that the emphasis on eco-design is embedded or baked into each of the 6 companies' business models and missions. And so we're going to show some examples from these leaders. At Nokia, their approach to consider the environment occurs at 3 levels: operations, product, and society. They operationalize circularity economy principles in the design of their projects. They consider upgradability, repairability, reusability, and recyclability of their products to improve energy efficiencies at the product level. And they consider what digitization and connectivity means to society. They aim to save resources and predict maintenance, and they use data to help them.
The next slide is talking about Nokia's approach to circular economy, and there we have 3 different dimensions on how do we look at environmental and circularity. The inner circle is about our own operations, traditional environmental thinking for companies. So how do you make your operations and your collaboration with your suppliers as efficient as possible? How do you minimize resources use? How do you treat waste in a most responsible manner? And with the competitive industries, it's really, this fits very well for your business strategy, because saving materials, saving for waste is always also good for the cost efficiency. The next circle is then the product level impact. So how do we make our products such that they have as long lifetime as possible? So this is also very much of importance for our customers, because infrastructure products are expensive. So more life extension services we have, such as software updates to our customers, or really long service agreements for the repair. That's very important for them to make sure that the products are there for a very long time.
Circularity is everywhere. Indeed, all 6 organizations that participated in the webinar series emphasized the use of data to determine opportunities for eco-design. These data are used in life cycle assessment and footprint analyses, 2 tools that these organizations use to make better decisions that would reduce impacts to the environment and achieve circularity goals. Schneider Electric highlighted their use of life cycle assessments at the design stage to determine which options are greener. When they design according to the information they get from the LCAs, they can make sure that their process teams show that they are going beyond the regulatory requirements. At Fairphone, they enable longer product lifespan through modular design of a smartphone. They evaluated the footprint of individual modules compared with an entire device. Repairability and modularity were demonstrated to have increased environmental benefits, and they used their lifecycle tools for hotspot analysis.
Maybe one piece of data that I remember, at least from the LCA of Fairphone 2, I would need to check for Fairphone 3, but the plastic parts of the device are really a small part of the overall environmental footprint at production of the device. If I'm not mistaken, the battery cover, which is the plastic part on the back of the phone, was something like 0.5% of the whole footprint of the whole device. So that's definitely like a smaller hotspot within the whole electronics part. One of the highest hotspots being, for example, the use of gold. So one thing that we've learned also is like the type of connectors that we use is very determined by because certain connectors will use more gold than other connectors, and the more gold you use, the environmental footprint, CO2 emissions goes really high.
And at ADVA, it is common for them to use LCA to evaluate which life cycle stage has the greatest impact for different products, as well as which impact categories are most affected by their design choices.
View. Here I show 2 very typical life cycle assessment diagrams of our equipment. On the one hand side, WDM transport gear, on the other side, Ethernet switching gear. Relevant here is that for these diagrams, I used average grid mix emission factors. If you used, for example, emission factors of 100% renewable energy, the light red bars would, of course, be smaller. But for typical grid mix that we see today, it seems everything is dominated by, well, light red, and light red is the use phase. This is dominated by the use phase via energy consumption. That holds for all the midpoint categories listed here. In first place, global warming potential, but also several toxicity potentials, eutrophication, acidification, ozone depletion, and so on and so forth. And we have exact confirmation of this behavior from other equipment classes and, of course, from other vendors. So this is typical.
We learned from Samsung about how they're using information to take action now and make bold changes to their products to support not just customer needs, but the environment.
You know, obviously, you should never sacrifice performance for environmental features. And so if you can do something that the customer wants that meets their desire, but at the same time has an environmental benefit, that is the true win.
They are rethinking how to make things and seeing that you can make a difference. Google is thinking how they make their products and how to work across design teams to ensure that they are designing for circularity.
So these should not be new to anyone here, but these are essentially the three ways we work across our design teams to design for circularity. 1, reduce waste. 2, design for longevity. And 3, develop circular materials, which is where Adi is going to go a lot deeper in just a minute.
We see that we can be using data and information to make decisions that support eco-design, and that can have reduced impacts on the environment across the life cycle of products. All 6 organizations that participated in the Eco-Design Learning Series emphasized how they are making informed decisions and taking action now to achieve circularity goals. For more information on the project team, the project's objectives, and the results, please watch our end of project webinar.